Yo, what's up? It's Desi. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, leave a like and subscribe for more. So if you're wondering who is this guy, stick around and I'll tell you a little bit about my background in the game. Otherwise, there are timestamps in the description you may use to skip ahead to the top 10. So now, let's get into today's video. Thanks for watching, guys. Marvel Rivals is a hero shooter that features Marvel's heroes and villains teaming up and facing off in objective-based game modes. The game's been out for a good year or so now, maybe even more, I'm not too sure. It's been an overall success with a peak Steam concurrent player count of over 644,000 players, and a consistent player count of around 150,000 as of May 2025. So safe to say the game has been doing great. And me personally, I want them to keep doing great. And I believe they need to keep the hype going and not let the game stagnate. And as of this season, Season 3, they are taking what I believe is the right step, and they've made the decision to add a hero every single month from here on out, which I believe is going to do amazing things for this game. As long as they continue to make these characters in such a way that they shake up the meta and change the way we play month to month, not only do we get a new Marvel character to the game, which is going to generate a lot of hype around the game, no matter what character it is. I mean, generally, we all know Marvel's a massive juggernaut, but sometimes people forget just how massive it really is. Like, even just niche heroes have their own fan bases that people might not even consider. Not just from comic books, but from games. Like, for me, it's Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Like, for example, it's an old game, but it works because it has a huge roster of characters that you can throw on your team because you think they're cool. And there's a lot of unlockables, you can read about them. There's comics you can find in them in that game. There's their character bios. You level them up, go through the story with them, and you get attached to these characters. And there's a lot of cool ones that are relatively niche that introduce people to these characters. Like in Ultimate Alliance, there's Iceman, Luke Cage, Nightcrawler, Spider-Man. Like, there's a lot of them. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who played, like, that game and so many other of those types of games that introduce you to a lot more of the niche heroes on a huge roster of a game. And now you have your own fandom for it, like Marvel Snap. I think that's what it's called. The new mobile card game. They have all sorts of niche characters that you can put on your team. They'll actually be good and useful. And people get attached because of either how good they are, or because of the way they look, or just something else. All of this to say, don't be surprised if the Marvel Rivals developers choose a niche character to release, because the fan bases for these characters in Marvel can actually be a lot bigger than you think. A lot of people have favorite characters, and sometimes the fact that just based on the perception that everybody has of a character, that not a lot of people are huge fans of that character, it can play into someone actually liking them and them becoming their favorite character. It's a lot of character. I'm sorry. But you know what I mean? There's a lot that goes into it, so don't be surprised if they add some random niche character you've never heard of and everybody's hyped about it just the same as Blade, for example. That's just the way this goes with this IP. Marvel is huge. And with that in mind, I want Marvel Rivals to add everybody to this damn game. I want this to be a Lego game of hero shooters. Add everybody. So today, I'm going to give you my personal top 10 tanks as a tank main that I want right now in Marvel Rivals. And the list is subject to change. A little background on me, I'm a tank player. I played Overwatch for years before switching over to Marvel Rivals when it came out. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I've been watching everything Marvel since I was a kid. I don't just play this game just because I love hero shooters, but I mean I do, but I love Marvel in general. So that's the main reason why I play this game, and getting to play characters like Blade, Hulk, and so many others in the modern game just makes me happy. So with that out of the way, Let's get into the list. Number 10. Starting out with the Lizard. The Lizard isn't necessarily everyone's first choice for a tank in Marvel Rivals, but I mean, I think he'd be very cool. Of course, he's very basic when it comes to villains, and he doesn't have a lot of powers, but I don't think that means he should be left off. He's such an iconic villain for Marvel, especially when it comes to Spider-Man. The Lizard is a very necessary villain to add to this game, and we need him. He could kind of I kind of see him as like the Wolverine of tanks. He has razor sharp claws. You could perhaps give him some type of dash ability, or maybe an ability to shoot poison onto enemies. And for his ult, they could do something with him calling in a bunch of lizards to help him attack or something. I'm not too sure on his ult. I kind of had that idea of Squirrel Girl's ult with a whole bunch of lizards, but I couldn't think of anything too crazy with it. Maybe you guys could think of something. Maybe the lizards all form around him to make one giant lizard and he attacks. I'm not too sure. I just know the lizard is iconic enough to be in this game. And he's very basic, yes. But they need to figure something out for him, in my opinion, because we cannot go the entire life cycle of Marvel Rivals without having the lizard in the game. And maybe do something cool with his passive, because he has regeneration. Maybe make it so when he takes a certain amount of damage and he's very low health, he loses his tail. But maybe he has a passive regeneration that kicks in after a certain amount of time of not being in combat. Kind of like the one that's in Overwatch. Not anything too broken, just exactly like the one that's in Overwatch. And then whenever he heals a certain amount of health, his tail comes back, and it's just a cool little animation shouting out the lizard, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really have too many crazy ideas for the lizard. I just want him in the game because I love the lizard, and that's my boy. So number 9, we got Hammerhead. Now Hammerhead, he might be one of those niche villains that I was talking about that you might not understand. Whoa, Hammerhead. But Hammerhead, I assure you, has a lot of fans and would actually generate a lot of hype for Marvel Rivals. I first got introduced to Hammerhead first off in, I believe, I think it's called either Shattered Dimensions or Web of Shadows, one of those two. Whenever you're playing as the Noir Spider-Man, you get introduced to Hammerhead there, and he's actually really cool. He's a really cool Spider-Man villain, and he's a gangster. He'd have some really sick outfits. He'd be cool to have in the game, and he's another villain. I imagine him having an ability very similar to the Thing, where you just press L2, and instead of him doing a punch, he just does a headbutt. And I imagine it's exactly the same as Thing's punch, just the headbutt over and over again. It gives him a little bit of temporary shield like the Thing's does, but it's just different animation. And you can make him different from the Thing by, instead of giving him melee attacks, you give him his Tommy gun. Give him either 1 or 2 Tommy guns, with around 30 bullets in each clip. Not a lot of ammo, maybe less. I'm not too sure, because I have an idea for another tank with a much larger clip in their gun. But yeah, just give him his Tommy guns. That would be very cool to see a character with Tommy guns in this game. And another ability could be another weapon that he has, for an example. Like he's a mob criminal. He could have smoke bombs. Like, for example, there's a lot of smoke bomb-like abilities in the game, but none of them really stay on the ground. Like, of course, there's the Blade one that he can put on the ground, and then the Moon Knight one, but that's really just for himself. I imagine one that's like the Punisher's smoke bomb, but it actually lasts and stays on point for wherever you put it for a good bit. But there's a couple different things you could do. You could maybe even give him, at least for his ultimate, you could give him a grenade launcher. Or maybe he could even, instead of give the grenade launcher to his ability, maybe? Basically, Hammerhead's very easily to do this for. There's a lot of weapons you could give him for his abilities. But I just came up with an idea for his ult. Maybe he can put a hit on a character by looking at them a little bit like Bob in Overwatch. Like, he looks at a character, and it also kind of works like Loki cloning a bit. Like, you look at the character and you press triangle or whatever the ultimate is, whatever your ultimate button is, on that character, and from out of the sky a bunch of mob characters come out, and it's like Hammerhead putting a hit on the character. And maybe instead of it being one huge tanky Bob, it's a couple of DPS style mob guys that the team will have to either try and stop. Like, if they're trying to kill their healer, they have to turn around and try and kill these mob guys, and then you go around and you take point, or you kill them while they're looking behind them. Or, you know, it's just, I think that would be really cool. I really think that would be cool. Yeah, so Hammerhead would be unique enough, in my opinion, to be a character on his own in this game. So for number 8, I'm gonna have to go with what may seem very similar at first, but as I get into it, you'll see he'll be also very different. Kingpin. Now, he may seem like a very basic tank on the surface level. He very well could be, but there's a couple of things that could make him really fun to play. For instance, make him obviously a melee character, but allow him to switch between his fists and his cane. And he could have multiple abilities tied to his cane, for example. He could do a shock/stun ability because he has a taser within his cane that he has attached to it. So it could be a stun type ability or just a little shock. And I imagine whenever he's using the cane in his hands do more damage, but the cane is tied to his abilities. And another one of his abilities could be sleeping gas, because he has sleeping gas also attached to his cane. So he could drop gas on a point, or it could just sleeping gas on one person. But I mean, I really think just having his cane be like his main thing with his abilities would be a really fun thing to do, and obviously make his melee do more damage. And whenever you have his melee out and you switch to and use an ability, it automatically switches over to the cane. And for Kingpin's ultimate, I was thinking it could be Kingpin shooting a barrage of lasers. Now, not as many as like Ultron's ultimate, for example. It's just like a couple laser bolts that are kind of similar to Sojourn's laser gun, that if you hit a headshot, you'll only need to hit one more just to keep excuse me, oh my god. Just to kill them. And maybe they give his cane like the railgun mechanic to begin with, but they wouldn't need to. They could just tie it to his ult. But yeah, just give him for his ultimate, give him a railgun on his cane, because his cane can shoot lasers. And maybe give it like, I don't know, however much time, like 5, 6 shots, 4, 3 shots, however many it's to where it's not OP. But yeah, I think that'd be a cool way to do Kingpin. Alright, number 7 is going to be Sandman. Now, Sandman's one of those ones where there's a multitude of ways he could be implemented. He could be a tank or a DPS. He has so many different things that could be an ability. So we're just gonna go basic, but you guys let me know what you would do with Sandman down below in the comments. I imagine he could be a very mobile tank with a type of movement ability as his first ability, similar to Venom's ultimate, and kind of like Venture in Overwatch, where he goes under the ground and it looks like Venom's ultimate, but it's just a bunch of sand, and he pops up through. More so like Venture, he doesn't like do a bite like Venom. He literally just jumps out through the ground and bursts, and it causes whoever's within that area to go flying out of the way. And he has melee attacks, with each combo being either a big sand punch or a different weapon, like the spiked club that Sandman likes to make, because he likes to make different weapons whenever he's fighting. So just make that, like, that's not an ability, that's just his melee, just alternating different sand weapons. And another ability could be to drop a little area of quicksand that pulls people in and sucks everything towards the middle, and maybe it gives Sandman bonus health for every person that you have being sucked in by the quicksand. I'm not sure. And maybe for his ult, it could be many different things. It could be giant Sandman or a giant sandstorm, and maybe it can combine with Storm's ult for a Sandnado. I mean, there's a lot of options for an ult for Sandman. His potential is literally endless. So just let me know what you would do with Sandman down below. Number 6 is going to be War Machine. So War Machine, he's another one of those ones where there are so many different things that they could end up doing for him. So I'm just gonna come up with a quick concept that's not really too in-depth or too thought out, because I couldn't really think of anything crazy for War Machine. But I do know he is absolutely different enough to be his own character. He wouldn't have to just be a skin on Iron Man. So maybe for his first ability, it could be some type of flight. Maybe it kind of works like Star-Lord's flight, where once he activates it, he can only use it for a short amount of time. Maybe a bit less than Star-Lord, maybe the exact same amount of time. And after he uses it, it's on a good cooldown, like a good 10-15 seconds maybe. And maybe his second ability is like a thrust, like kind of like Pharah, like he thrusts himself higher up into the air. And maybe War Machine players just kind of use that to get to higher ground, and not necessarily to go even higher while flying, but they can also use that. Or maybe that's just his flying in general. It's just they give him kind of like a Genji dash, but instead of him being able to constantly fly, it's just straight up 2 thrusts up into the air that War Machine can use, and they're rechargeable constantly, and they aren't on cooldown. They're always, well, they're on cooldown, but you know what I mean, you get 2 stacks of them. And for his second ability, you could maybe give him an ability where he provides temporary shields, kind of like Venom's ability where he gives shields for himself, but just in a bubble around War Machine. He gives like little nanobots to his teammates around him, giving little temporary shields for a little bit. And then for his ultimate, he could have kind of a similar ultimate to Symmetra, I imagine, where maybe it's not the giant wall, but he places down a barrier. Maybe it's a bubble that's indestructible that he places down for his ultimate that gives him and his teammates that are inside of it a damage boost or a speed boost. Or maybe it is just straight up the indestructible shield wall that you put up. That could be cool. I couldn't really think of anything too crazy for him, but I really do believe War Machine would be a really cool tank to have in the game. So let me know what you guys would do with him down in the comments. Oh man. So number 5 is Rhino. And this one would be so fun to have in the game. If they add him, I want them to add the classic version of Rhino, not the one in the mechanized suit. Just classic gray Rhino with the human face. That's his best look in my opinion. And for Rhino, I would want to make him a character that's very unique. So, but I mean, the problem is how unique can we get with Rhino? But I think you can do a little something with him. So for his first ability, you could activate some type of rage that makes him faster and gives him a bit of damage reduction. And when the rage is activated, maybe it makes his regular melee punch attacks more wild and swinging, kind of like Hulk's ult, just way less. like, don't make them go anywhere near as far as they do in Hulk's ult. Just move them a bit to, like, just, he's a disruptor of the enemy team. He's moving them around a little bit. And make it so this rage effect doesn't last too long. So it's not annoying, and unfair, because that could really be annoying and unfair if you can just do that all the time. So you just got to make it last a short time. And Rhino, he's only using this in a very situational thing. He's not using this all the time. Make it have a little bit of a longer cooldown. And then for his second ability, give him a horn stab that inflicts bleed on enemies. And I mean, maybe if you really wanted to make this his ability instead of his ult, but I was kind of going to tie it into his ult, but you could also do, for his second ability, a Rhino charge. Make it work almost exactly like the Thing's charge, only when you come into contact with either a wall or a person, you stop and do damage to it. So if you run into a wall, it gets destroyed, but Rhino bonks his big old noggin on it, you know what I'm saying? And he has to stop for a second. Or, if he runs into an enemy, he skewers them with the Rhino horn and causes them to bleed. And as for his ult, I was going to have it very similar to the charge ability, only a lot more damage. You begin your charge, and this time you can run through and skewer through targets. Like, you can run through walls and skewer through people, is what I should have said. So, if you run into a wall, you will go through it, but I was thinking for his ultimate, maybe he only has 3 of these charges. Because Rhino's not exactly unstoppable when he's in a charge. He's pretty good in a charge, but there's someone else who's way more unstoppable than Rhino in a charge. So I'm thinking if he has a charge for his ult or a charge for his ability, when he runs into something, if it's his ability, he stops. If it's an ult, he only has 3 skewers, and if you run into a wall, that's going to cost a skewer. So you got to be careful, and you got to make sure you only run into people with it. I think that'd be a very cool way to do Rhino. And if you have any other ideas to make Rhino a bit more unique than the other charging type of tanks on the roster, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, Rhino number 4. No, not number 4, excuse me, number 5. So, number 4, Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut as a character is absolutely perfect for this game, and I would want to take full advantage of the destructible environments, and with the Juggernaut release, I would hope they would also want to do that, and maybe even do like a rework to make even more destructible environments in the game and such. And maybe not to make them rebuild themselves all the damn time, but that's, you know, besides the point. But for Juggernaut's first ability, I would like for it to be a charge, but instead of it being an ability like Things, make it a stamina meter like Caps. So Juggernaut can always charge as long as he has stamina. It's not tied to a cooldown or anything. The Juggernaut can charge as long as he's not tired. And make the charge do more damage to destructible environments than people. So immediately on contact with a destructible environment, if he's even looking at it, destroy it. And maybe after the Juggernaut breaks a destructible object or a wall that's close to an enemy, the pieces should do damage to them. And for his second ability, similar to like Emma Frostchoke, maybe he could just grab an enemy and just throw them. Like, not like Hulk's where he grabs them and starts slamming them. He grabs them, kind of like Wolverine, and then just chucks them. But he doesn't have control over how far they go. They just go a set amount of distance, maybe. Or maybe his second ability, instead of the grab, he slams his 2 big fists down on the ground, and it makes a wave like Doomfist Slam. And that converts that damage to temporary shields for him. Or maybe even just a guard like Doomfist that either converts the damage into temporary shields on him. That or just reduces incoming damage like a regular Doomfist block. And for his ultimate, Juggernaut could kind of have like an a Hulk style ultimate, where Juggernaut grows in size and his eyes start to glow a dark red and his costume starts to change into a dark red as that one demon, now excuse me as I butcher his name, Sidorak, imbues him with power, and it powers up his charge to now deal even more devastating damage. Now his charge can straight up kill players just by just running over them, and if it doesn't kill them, it sends them flying. And his other abilities and melee attacks, I imagine, like Hulk's ultimate would also get a powerful boost, just he doesn't have a clap, you know? Maybe make his melee attacks do more damage than Hulk's melee attacks and ultimate, because those are pitiful. But yeah, Juggernaut would work perfectly for this game, and I genuinely think it's only a matter of time until he comes into the game, and I can't wait. Alright, so number 3 would be A-Bomb. Now, not Abomination. Not Abomination. A-Bomb. Richard Jones, Hulk's best friend. A-Bomb, the blue one. He would be really fun to have in the game, and really easy to make a moveset for. He could kind of be like Hammond of this game. His first ability could be him turning into his ball form. That's interchangeable. It's not like on a long cooldown exactly like Hammond's. He can go from the ball form to just his regular A-Bomb form just at the press of a button. And he's faster in the ball form, obviously, and smaller. And he can just simply toggle it on and off with 2 abilities in the ball form. Maybe a speed up ability, or just like a run, or just a charge ability, where he's able to go much faster and jump higher. And his second ability could be to become spiky in the ball form, where if he rolls into an enemy, it does more he does damage. And his out of a ball abilities, excuse me, he could have an ability where he picks up a boulder and throws it at the enemies. Because there's not really any abilities like that right now where he just shows off his Hulk strength. So A-Bomb could have that. You could just pick up a boulder and throw it, and that would be a pretty strong ability. And maybe he's a melee character. Maybe he's not. Maybe he shoots spikes. He could go either way. But for his second ability, he could go invisible, which would be a really cool ability for a tank. And maybe you give him that ability in his ball form too, I don't know. Maybe if you use the invisible before you go into ball, you'll keep it for a little bit. I don't know. But that would be really cool. And for his ultimate, that's where you could do so many different things. Because Richard Jones is connected to the Destiny Force and has powers of reality manipulation. So they could do literally anything with that. So I just thought of something fun just because it's something that A-Bomb from what the Hulk show would do. And I just thought it would be cool, and it's something we know. I don't expect this to be his ult in the game, but it's just something funny I just thought of. So he goes into his ball form, and he goes from portal to portal, because this motherfucker knows how to make portals thanks to Doctor Strange. And kind of like Psylocke, where it's in that circle that he's able to move around point or just wherever you activate the ult. He goes from portal to portal in his spiky ball form and runs through that circle and just fucks people up. Just literally destroys them all in the spiky ball form. And I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else, but A-Bomb's just a fun type of character. So I imagine he's going to be having a great time. So, but if you have any other ideas down below, let me know for A-Bomb's ult or just A-Bomb abilities in general. Let me know it. Alright. Number 2, we got Red Hulk. Red Hulk would absolutely rock in this game. And it pains me every time I see someone say he could be a skin for the Hulk. Because it just would not work. Like, the two, despite their names, are actually very different. Like, yeah, both have the same gamma that runs through their blood, but it does different things to them. Like, for instance, instead of gaining strength the more intense the anger he gets, like Green Hulk does, Red Hulk, the more angry he gets, more heat he begins to build in his body. And his body can contain energy on par with the Hulk. To a certain point, I will say. And is capable of absorbing large amounts of gamma and even cosmic energy. And by absorbing this energy, it increases his strength and his healing factor. And not to mention, the man uses a large arsenal of guns and explosives. So, he should very much so, if you know where I'm going with this, be in a ways a version of MAGA. So I envision Red Hulk with either one large LMG or two large LMGs, similar to MAGA. And he has an ability that once he activates it and he starts shooting an enemy, he builds heat and sets them on fire and gains lifesteal for each shot that he takes on them. And once he reaches 100 of that heat meter, he, after a short time, it doesn't last that long. Like, it doesn't matter if you're shooting people or not. Red Hulk doesn't, he can't contain that energy for as long as, like, the Hulk, for instance. Like I said, he can contain energy on par with the Hulk, but to a certain point, it just goes out. So after a short time, or however long, to where it's not busted, it slowly starts to burn away. And once it gets to around like 15, 10 heat and it's burning down slower, Red Hulk becomes vulnerable. And he takes more damage than normal, way more damage. Until the last 15 or 20, however much heat it is, burns away. And for his second ability, you can make it 2 grenades that he shoots from underneath his LMGs. Like in the area you're aiming at. And for his ult, you could just make it a huge fucking gun. Just like Punisher's ult. You just give him a big minigun, or you could give him a huge missile launcher. Something big and powerful you can use to kill and put motherfuckers down. And that would be Red Hulk. Alright, thank you so much for watching up to this point. Before I get to the final #1 top spot, we got a couple of honorable mentions here. I would not mind seeing Drax in this game, Colossus, Hyperion, or Cable. All of these characters, I would also be just as happy to see these characters make it into the game. But they could not fit into the list today. So, without further ado, let's get into #1. #1, Thanos. Now, finally, who better in this game of heroes and villains battling it out than the Mad Titan Thanos? Now, there could be multiple versions that could make it into the game. There could be a version with the stones, a version without the stones. Personally, we're just going for my list today, and we're not going too crazy in depth or anything. So we're just going, I would personally like comic book Thanos with the stones, just with that comic book classic look, because I think it would look fantastic in this game. His primary could either be the stone shooting a laser out, or he could use his other hands to shoot firing cosmic beams and stuff. I mean, or he could also be a melee character. And for his abilities, you could do so many different things, especially if he has the stones. Like, so, with this version, if he has the stones, he could use the Power Stone to create a purple shield in front of him, like we've seen in Infinity War and stuff. I had to make it kind of similar to Magneto's shield, where it's just on a timer and it can't be broken. because he's using the stone, and that thing's powerful as hell. And for his second ability, maybe you just make it, he uses the time stone to go back in time, so to speak. So maybe he regains his lost HP from like 2.5 seconds prior, or something that would allow him to teleport. Or you could even have him freeze someone in time, kind of like how a Manta Sleep works. He used the time stone to free someone else. That would be pretty cool. There's so many different things you could do with a Thanos in Marvel Rivals. And for his ultimate, you could do something like when Thanos snaps, say Thanos is on the center of a point. In that circle, if the enemy team, or just a certain, not all of them, or, you know, just any enemies within that circle, as soon as Thanos snaps, their health bars get cut in half, and it can't be healed until the end of the duration, like Winter Soldier's ult. And maybe the more he gets within the ult, the more temporary shields he receives from Mistress Death. I don't know, I think it'd be pretty cool. You guys, let me know if you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, subscribe and leave a like. Thank you guys so much for watching. More Marvel Rivals, more Marvel Rivals in the future, I promise. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe for more, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.
I keep so ulting him. There we go.
By the eye of Agamotto,
Done this or not?
behold the god of thunder!